Our last presenter, who is Brittany Christenson, who has been a partner with us throughout the road salt reduction initiative that we've had here in Lake George. She is the executive director of ADK Action. ADK Action has been involved with this issue and actually had salt conferences going back about 12 years. And she's also a founding member of the Adirondack Road Salt Working Group. And without further ado, I'll invite Brittany up and to talk about her partnership, the Clean Water and Safe Roads partnership, and the work that she's doing within the Adirondack Park regionally. So,
thank you so much.
there you go, and the green button.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chris. I don't want to, if I stand too close to the mic, will I have feedback? Okay, perfect. Y'all are very pro down here. I'm impressed. So as Chris said, I'm Brittany Christenson. I'm the Executive Director of ADK Action. And I'm here to tell you today about the soft launch of our Clean Water Safe Roads partnership. You may remember from past SALT summits that I presented at that we had a public outreach campaign that we were testing out called the Hold the Salt partnership. And you know, I want to let you know we changed the name for a really good reason, which is that we knew that there was no reality in which salt wasn't a part of winter road maintenance. And we felt like the name Hold the Salt was misleading. So we worked with our partners and we thought about what we really want to achieve here. We took a step back and we decided to launch a multi-phase Clean Water Safe Roads partnership, because that's really what we're all trying to accomplish, is those two goals that are intertwined. So ADK Action, if you haven't heard of us, we're a nonprofit that has a lot of different projects, but they all have the common mission of promoting vibrant communities and preserving the natural beauty of the Adirondacks for all. So you see the icons along the side of the screen here. Each one correlates to one of our projects. So in addition to protecting clean water through our road salt initiative, we're also focused on getting healthy food to low-income families. So we get food directly from local farmers that use sustainable practices, and we pair that up with food insecure individuals. We have a broadband initiative that we work very closely with Senator Dan Steck, who was here earlier, and many others across the park. A pollinator project that's focused on native plants, and much more. So this is just one of our 8 project areas, but it's very important to us, and it's in fact one of the issues that our organization was founded on. So as Chris mentioned, ADK Action has been working on road salt reduction for about 10, 11 years now. And we started with the road salt conferences up at Paul Smith College in partnership with Paul Smith College Adirondack Watershed Institute in 2010. And in preparation for that first SALT conference, we commissioned the creation of a study that would really pull together all the best practices, all the literature review, and use that as a baseline. So we've been at this for a long time. It broke my heart a little bit to see the slide that was shared earlier about the salt concentrations of streams leading into Lake Champlain. Because when you've been at something for 10 or 12 years and the correlation over that time is going up, that's not what you want to see, right? But I think that there were a lot of good points today about the changing conditions and the fact that there are more ice events, and we're going to have to deal with that and reckon with that. But as you can see, over the years, we've hosted SALT conferences, we've produced booklets and pamphlets to help educate the region at every level, really trying to raise awareness around this issue. And we've also done a lot of sponsoring of research. So one of the most notable papers that we sponsored in partnership with the Fund for Lake George, now the Lake George Association, was the well and aquifer study that was done by Paul Smith College Adirondack Watershed Institute. And the result of that was the information that about 55% of the wells, the private wells in the Adirondacks that were tested, which were downslope from state roads, were contaminated above the EPA guidance values for road salt. So just as the wonderful keynote said earlier, when you mess with people's drinking water, you get some passionate responses. And a lot of our members at ADK Action are those people whose roads or whose water has been contaminated by road salt. And I don't know if it was mentioned earlier in the day, but it's not just about the fact that folks with really, sensitive conditions that can't have an elevated salt content, it's not just about the health conditions. It's that these families are having their pipes so corroded and their appliances so destroyed and their wells, deemed completely unusable, that we have families, low-income families, that are unable to drink their water. They have no potable water. What does that do to the resale value of their home? What does that do to their ability to participate as a member of society? Water is an absolutely fundamental thing that we all need. So that's why this issue is so important to us, and that's why we continue to push forward. As you can see here, we are, after 11 years, we're launching the Clean Water Safe Roads Partnership, and it's a 3-phase public outreach campaign. And we've broken it down into municipalities, phase 1, which is what I'm going to focus on today. And then we want to move with all of our partners to a focus on commercial salt applicators. So I'm really excited about what we heard today about Green Snow Pro and what might be applicable to our region for that phase 2 conversation. Finally, phase 3 will be focused on homeowners, renters, and the driving public. Because if you talk about road salt, with folks at the state or with anyone who's really involved in the issue, one of the biggest driving factors for the overuse of salt is the fact that the driving public has expectations that are sometimes very unrealistic. But I have to say they come from a good place because personally, a couple years ago, when I was about 8 months pregnant with my daughter, I was visiting my father-in-law, walking up the wooden steps to his house, and I slipped on the steps, and I took a decent fall. And everyone knows that it's terrifying when a pregnant lady falls down the stairs. So it was a scary situation. But I'll tell you what, when I went to visit the next weekend, there was an absurd amount of salt on those stairs. And when that happened, it clicked for me. I'd already been working on road salt reduction for a couple of years, but it clicked. I was like, this is where it comes from. The oversalting comes from a place of love and a place of care and concern for each other's safety. So that's something we have to keep in mind. It's really a balancing act, and I truly understand that. But that doesn't mean that we don't have to continue to work on our salt use, our salt overuse. So what are we going to be offering to municipalities in this partnership? Well, I'll take it back to our early partnership with Lake George, and as many folks have said today, the model down here is just phenomenal. The amount of investment, the partnerships, the buy-in, it's truly a great model. And so I remember talking to Chris, 4 or 5 years ago, 2016, 2017, we started having conversations about what was working well down here, what ADK Action might be able to bring and offer to the rest of the Adirondack region. And he said, hey, one of the things we started with was an MOU, a pledge to reduce road salt that our municipalities could sign on to. And so we adopted that and modified it for the wider region. And we've taken that around to town board meetings, many, many town board meetings. And we now have 26 municipalities in the park signed on. With this new launch of the Clean Water Safe Roads Partnership, we have funding from Lake Champlain Basin Program to try to work with 10 additional municipalities who signed the pledge. So any municipality that's on the New York side in the Lake Champlain Basin is eligible to participate. So if you're affiliated with a municipality, live in one that's not yet signed on, we want to work with you. I'll show the map here. These are the municipalities that have signed on already, and this is a screenshot of the pledge. But you can see we're getting pretty good coverage around the park of participating municipalities. And while we do know, just like Senator Steck mentioned earlier, that state application is the largest contributor at this moment based on the research that we've sponsored and reviewed, it's also important that we make the culture of the entire region unified, that everybody's on the same page, everyone's working towards the same goal. So we think it's more important than ever to engage municipalities. And I've heard something that I really don't like from some municipalities, which is that they wish they could afford more salt to put down. I've heard that at several board meetings, and I understand where that comes from, but we are trying not to rest on our laurels for the fact that municipalities often use a lot less than state. So we've got this pledge, and signing the pledge makes everyone in the program eligible to work with us to receive some pretty great benefits and some information that's helpful. So we're partnering with the Paul Smith College Adirondack Watershed Institute to create custom water quality reports for every municipality that participates. And something that's powerful about that is that it will show the leaders and the highway supervisors and everyone in that municipality what the sodium and chloride rates are in their drinking water, in their groundwater, specifically in each of the water bodies within their boundaries. And so we think that that's going to help people better understand the impacts right there at home. And they'll be able to refer to water quality reports later on and see how that changes over time and watch how their behavior impacts the amount of sodium and chloride in their waters. We are also going to, we're working with Chris Stefanik and everybody at the Sea Grant to do a big survey, not just on the New York side, but on the Vermont side as well. Because all of us around Lake Champlain know that whatever goes into the lake is going to affect everyone, no matter which side you're on. So the survey is going to ask a lot of questions about current practices and where folks are at. We know some towns are really small, they don't have a lot of equipment, they have really tiny budgets, they might still be using all abrasives with just a tiny bit of salt mixed in to prevent clumping, for example. And some other municipalities might have a bigger budget. Maybe they're messing around with some brining. Maybe they're trying some more advanced technology and equipment. And so what we're going to do is use that survey and outreach to put the municipalities that are participating in cohorts. So we expect to have 20 to 25, 27 to somewhere in the mid-30s total participants, because it's everyone who signed the pledge before plus the additional 10. So we'll group everyone into cohorts so that there's some peer support happening. I think that that's one thing we've really learned, is that being able to talk to peers who are out there trying these solutions on the ground, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, sharing best practices, that's part of how you change that culture and see the long-term improvements. So we'll put together these cohorts. And then we're going to be working with a professional consultant, and they will actually work with each group. So we'll get everyone together, buy some pizza, talk about what's working, talk about where this cohort is at, and then what are the next couple of steps that are affordable, that are realistic, that are feasible given each municipality's capacity. And so we'll come out of that with customized action plans for each municipality. After the action plans are formed, we're going to provide some training, some professional training, so that the knowledge base can be transferred of how do you actually implement these best practices. And we're going to also have some trainings on liability reduction. That's an ever-changing field. As you heard today, it's difficult to measure, it's difficult to quantify, but there are resources out there. And having a written snow and ice plan is one of the best things municipalities can do to protect themselves. So we want to provide examples of those plans, provide an easy place to turn to for those resources. Let's see here. We talked about culture a lot today, so I'm not even going to try to go into that in that same depth. Finally, we're going to be putting together a resource library, and we'll be pulling from all the successful salt reduction campaigns that we know of and trying to simplify things, because we all know how overwhelming Google is. You go there and you can find an answer for anything, any answer you're looking for, that is. So we want to vet some resources, be able to provide everyone with trusted, easy, actionable resources to be able to move up the steps of those action plans that we're creating together. So that's it. That's the Clean Water Safe Roads Partnership. We're looking to launch late this year or early next. And again, anyone who is in the Lake Champlain Basin on on the New York side is eligible to participate. And if you represent or are affiliated with the municipality that's in the Adirondacks but doesn't fall within the basin, we'll work with you too. We'll just have to we'll figure that out. But we want to help everybody because this whole region needs to work together. And I'm really excited about the fact that the task force is coming down the line soon. Yes, it's delayed, but we all know there's been some major speed bumps this year. But between the task force coming online, that's going to help look at the state's application and the regional partnership that we're launching and all the great work happening down here, we think that there's a critical mass that we're all achieving in the Adirondack region so that we can truly start to solve this problem. So this is my contact information. Please reach out if you want to join the partnership or participate in any other way. And I thank you for your time.